What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 16 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast here on ASN, part Arena Sports Network. Go check it out, arenasportsnet.com. I'm Josh Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter at WCJoshLopez. We got a lot to get to today. I like to say this a lot to my friends that don't know about my show. This show goes as long as the conversation flows and how good it is. I know I'm not expecting to do a 3-hour talk show non-stop. I'm sure you guys have a lot more important things to do. But sometimes when we do the show goes by so fast that it's like 2 hours already, and you only feel like it's only a half an hour. So I want to know if you guys would like a shorter show or longer. It just depends where you guys are with your interest in this show. We appreciate the support we've been getting so far. We're almost already to like 20,000 views here on YouTube already. It's freaking crazy. We just started this thing after Mania, so thank you guys for the support and all the good stuff on iTunes. We've talked about it last week, so again, thank you for the support. As always, make sure to join the conversation with us with the YouTube chat room we got going on right now. If you have any questions, soliloquies, anything that's on your mind about wrestling or anything, just put it in. We'll interact with you guys as well. All right, so I'm not alone this week. Of course, I got my good buddy and brother from another mother, one of my best friends. It is the one and only Adam Daley. What's going on, my man?
Hey, what's going on, Josh? What is going on? Well, I won't go any further with the what's going on as far as this show goes. But everyone at home, hello, how we doing?
How we doing? All right, we got a returning guest on this week's show. He was on a few weeks ago. I think it was right before Money in the Bank, actually. We got a friend. He's from tagmeadate.com. His name's Eric Friedman. Eric, what's going on, my man?
Oh, good to be back. Thanks for having me back on. I'm excited for today's show. Yeah, it should be great, man.
Tell everybody a little bit about tagmeadate.com before we move forward.
Absolutely. Tag Me Date is the first and only, and I stress that only, dating site for wrestling fans. Not WrestlersOnly.com is not real. But we're getting there. We're getting known. We're building a following each and every day. More and more people sign up. We're also the only dating site that has where you could put a promo video instead of your profile picture, or in lieu of your profile picture, whatever. Mm-hmm. But we allow like a 15-second promo video to tell a little bit about yourself. Wrestling night is now date night. That's our slogan. We have another one called Network and Chill. Nice. But that would be a good idea. We got a lot of stuff going on. I just represented at Ziggy's by the Sea in Wilmington recently. Had a good show. I met a couple of people. Ran into some old friends like Rock and Roll Express. We're going to be at WrestleCade this year in Winston-Salem. Mm-hmm. Whole bunch of stuff going on. Big things on the horizon.
I got one question about tagmeadate.com. Tell me, please, that ring post-itis is not involved in this scenario.
It is not. Okay. Oh, one more thing I did want to mention is that right now everything's free. Once we start charging, it will still be free for women. But when we do, we're also going to donate part of the proceeds to Connor's Cure.
Connor's Cure is
that's near and dear to our hearts. So
yeah. You know. Connor's Cure is a great foundation. I was fortunate enough last year to be part of a podcast marathon thing in Chicago called Pod Slam last year. My old radio show is part of it, so it's cool. They're doing it again this year in September, so check out Pod Slam if you guys want to check it out on Twitter. And the benefit for Connor's Cure, I know WWE's doing the SummerSlam concert on next Thursday actually, at the Barclays for Connor's Cure. So donate if you can. On today's show, we're going to get into a lot of things. Usually, towards the end of the show, we go to shooting the shit and just talk like whatever's on our mind outside the ring or whatever. But we're going to do that first. Then we'll go into Raw and SmackDown, and then we'll wrap things up, talk about SummerSlam, and we got a Nimrod that we got to mention as well at the end of the show, and we'll save that for later on. What we're going to start off with here is Shelton Benjamin. Having to have a rotator cuff surgery. He will not be coming back soon, but that doesn't mean he's never coming back to WWE, unlike somehow the Dirtsheets reported it this past weekend. But it's unfortunate. I heard about this on Friday. I was really just bummed out because I'm a big fan of Shelton Benjamin, and I was talking about this with Eric before we came on air. I really feel like Benjamin could be one of those veterans like Chris Jericho, where he could help elevate these talents, go to the next level, and I think he still has a lot to offer. Yeah, he's almost reaching 40, but that doesn't mean he can't go or anything. The guy is such an athlete, and it sucks, man. It really sucks, but I wish him the best in his speedy recovery. We'll see when he comes back, but for everybody to report that, he's never coming back just because he's had rotator cuff surgery now, I think that's nonsense. Let's start off with Adam here. What was your thoughts on the news?
It bummed me out, man. I was really, really, really looking forward to Benjamin coming back because, one, he wasn't going to have his mama with him, which that's good.
Yes.
And two, no, actually, listen, Benjamin was always such a good talent. He's so athletic. I thought, he really would have had a chance, I think, to shine on SmackDown and not have maybe gotten lost in the shuffle. I think going, hitting up the independent circuit and kind of touring the world probably did him some good too. Helped him really I think sometimes a lot of these guys, and I don't know, I'm not in any of their heads, but I think in a way you kind of have to step outside of WWE just to get a certain confidence level and perspective on what WWE really is. Because I think we all dream of being there, we all fight to be there, and then if I couldn't imagine being there. I'm about 150 pounds, so but take that hint, Conor McGregor. But I think that I think that a lot of times it's good to leave WWE, get that extra seasoning on you. And I was really thinking that he could have had a big time showing on SmackDown. So I'm kind of disappointed by this, but I think the silver lining to every dark cloud is when he comes back, he's going to get a monster pop because, like you said, Josh, he's coming back.
Eric, my man, what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, he'll be back. Yeah, I was bummed too. I really was. I was looking forward to him coming back. I think SmackDown was definitely the perfect fit for him, especially this time around. I had envisioned a stable with him, Kurt Angle, and American Alpha together. I just really, yeah, it sucks, but yeah, those Dirtsheets, yeah, that's stupid. He'll be back. He'll be back. It may take some time, and that's okay, but he'll be back.
Boo those Dirtsheets. Boo them.
Boo them. Let's go to the next topic here. We're going to mix in a little pop culture and some life stuff into this segment as well. First off, I'm going to start off with this. For everybody that's going after guys like me and Adam or whoever about us not being interested in the Olympics, get over yourself, bro. Seriously. I don't get why it's like, oh, you're unpatriotic because you don't support the effing Olympics. Big effing deal, bro. I think you give two shits about the Olympics. Olympics is as much as a work as anything else we have in competing sports these days. I'm not buying that crap, please, bro. I want to watch. Baseball can't be considered in the Olympics, but we got table tennis or ping pong, wherever the hell the competitions are. Archery.
Let's not forget shooting, right? We also have some sort of shooting, firing type stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Isn't there? So we're encouraging, again, let's be better with a gun than a baseball bat. Second Amendment people, that's not a shot at your rights either. It's just a shot at common sense. Come on.
Yeah. And another thing, moving away from Olympics, why does everybody got to be so literal today?
All the time.
I don't get it. Oh, people are gonna make mistakes. Nobody's perfect, but why it's always that it's either somebody's got to question you for your opinion on something, somebody's got to correct you on a grammar mistake or something. Like I found it funny. Roman Reigns was poking fun at people ripping him for the apostrophe re the other day when he was talking about Conor McGregor. But like seriously, guys, I don't know if it's me, but why does everybody have a bug up their ass these days?
Well, because it's an election season and everybody's fighting because that's what everyone can blame the media as much as they want, but own it, guys. You want to argue. Everybody for some reason wants to argue. Quit blaming the media. Quit blaming this. You're drinking the Kool-Aid and arguing with people. That's why I don't leave my house. I love that I work from home. I go out on a gotta go basis because I don't want to deal with any of you motherfuckers. You're all crazy. Pardon my language, but I'm sorry. Anybody that is like gung-ho Donald Trump, you're a sociopath. Anybody that's gung-ho Hillary Clinton, you are also a sociopath. So I like to just sit at home. I mean, I enjoy people that realize that this is just such a crazy time to be alive. And I think it's such a fun time to be alive. But like you said, Josh, I just think that there's a lot of people that are miserable and they like to spread that misery. And nobody understands sarcasm jokes. Nobody gets like the sleight of hand, like, you know, humor. And like for me, listen, dude, this is how much I pay attention to the Olympics. And if you watch the Olympics, cool. You know, yeah. I mean, I guess I made a joke the other day, and a lot of people kind of didn't like it, and I was just like, why, you know, how are the Olympics still a thing? And dude, guys, first of all, it's a sarcastic joke. Second of all, I want everyone to think about what I just said. I know you're not watching fencing in 2017 or 2018 or 2019. Don't get on your pedestal in 2020 or 2016 just because it's in the Olympic Games. I know you're not. And if you're watching women's gymnastics all year round, you're a goddamn pedophile because those girls are like 12 and 13 years old. That's a completely different story altogether. Don't give me country pride. Pride goeth before the fall. Know your proverbs. Know George Carlin. So at the end of the day, my thing is, like, I hate this fake patriotism that we always have to lay on real thick, that as soon as the Olympics are over, everyone's going to go back to being Italian or Irish or Polish or German or whatever the hell that you claim the rest of the year, and it drives me insane, and I can't stand it because it's just like, whatever, it's cool, but I'm not going to accept anything that's basically just corporately, or it's just crooked, money driven. There's no reason Rio of any places should get an Olympic Games for how non-safe that place is right now, or how unsafe that place is. So at the end of the day, let's face it, money drives the Olympics, not the essence of sport and the this and that. And like everybody just drinks the Kool-Aid with that. Like, and as soon as you joke about that, people get on their patriotic horse, and it's like, just settle down. Like and at the end of the day, it's because it's an election year, like looping it back in. Everybody's always more tense during election years because they think it's the end of the world, because that's what the politicians that they're voting for are selling them. At the end of the day, they sell fear, we drink fear. Everybody's scared, so everybody's in defense mode. So everybody's in a fucking get your guns mode. And I'm sorry I'm ranting, but people have been driving me insane. And I do attribute a lot of it to the election. I really do.
Eric, your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, oh my God. The Olympics, look, I mean, I find it boring, to be honest. Like and you're right. It's a business at the end of the day. It's a business as much as anything else. I mean, yeah, okay, I may enjoy the women's beach volleyball every once in a while.
Eric, here, and real quick, because I want to toss it back to you, but here's a funny thing that I want to bring up before I forget. That I didn't know this, and this is how little I follow not only the Olympics, but my high school. Because people that still follow your high school after you graduate, you got a little sickness in you too. Like, grow up, get away from that. But I guess the captain of the women's volleyball team went to the same high school as me, I guess. So right, hey, shout out, I guess. Congrats. Like it matters. Accident of where I was born. Hey. But, you know, it's a coincidence of where I was born, man. Like, I hate when people were like, "Oh, I have pride from my high school." It was a coincidence that your parents lived there. Get the out of here. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Pride my ass.
I mean, look, I have respect for all these athletes that compete, and that's fine. And if you win a medal, that's great. Good for us. Good for whatever country you're from. Mm-hmm. You know, but is it that big of a deal that I'm not into it? You know, like it's not. How is it, like, it's unpatriotic? Don't give me that unpatriotic bullshit, you know?
Why do and what makes it unpatriotic that I could give two shits if we're the best at shot put in the world? Seriously, guys, like really, I care that we throw a cement ball farther than any other country. Like, get the hell out of here. The Olympic Games to me are the most trivial, boring. It's like watching paint dry on growing grass. It's the most horrible thing in the world.
Absolutely.
The only time I was remotely into the Olympics was the '92 basketball team, the All-Star team.
That's it.
That was it. I mean, that was you can't put together a better basketball team to me.
The GOAT, Michael Jordan. I'm sorry, guys. I had to pull the bias card, but he's the GOAT.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's written in stone.
Let's move on to another jackass. We got Conor McGregor saying that everybody in the WWE locker room is pussies and that he could take them out each Sunday or whatever. And this guy already talks out of his backside already because one, he says Vince McMahon's a Don, so obviously you're angling yourself for an opportunity to work for the company at the same day, sometime in the future. And then at the same time, you're kissing Dana White's ass, even though a couple months ago you're like, oh, I don't want to do media for UFC 200, bro. You're a jackass. I just think to say everybody's pussies and you're whip everybody ass is just completely ignorant. I don't care if that's your gimmick and that you want to get attention and all that, but it's funny for me because everybody in the wrestling media loves to put UFC up in a pedestal over wrestling these days because it's not like it was during the Attitude Era. Oh, so we got to put UFC over, but the only thing about UFC is interesting is that you have guys who either want to be in WWE or guys who left WWE that went to UFC. What other UFC star besides Jon Jones cheating, drug-having ass that the UFC stars have made over the last 3 to 4 years? None.
Nobody, and that's the problem. Everybody, I do not understand. Listen, everything goes through. I don't want to say everything's cyclical because it shouldn't be, and that's one thing that is as much as I think a lot of people disagree with Vince Russo on. This is something that we should all agree with Vince Russo on. Is there never should be cycles in wrestling, professional wrestling. Like yes. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that excuse either. It shouldn't be. It is cyclical, but it should never be. It's a never-ending story. So why are these cycles? At the same time, it's the same thing with UFC, guys. UFC sucks right now. It is. I was big into it in the mid 2000s when you had George St. Pierre, you had Chuck Liddell, you had Tito Ortiz. You know what I mean? You had you could name off. There was name after name after name after name. Randy Couture. Name after name. And UFC. It was almost like a less is more kind of equation. Right now, I just feel like it's watered down. There's no names. You have McGregor, you have Rousey, and really, really, that's it. When you're talking mainstream names, that's it. Now, we can go down with Paige Van Zandt. We can go down with other, Misha Tate, other names. But other than the women, there's not too many. Spider Silva, maybe, I guess. Lesnar, I guess, but he's never probably going to fight ever again. I don't understand why, but what McGregor was doing, I understand. He was trying to cut a wrestling promo without a filter because he can. He can use language that WWE superstars can't. I said this before. I just think that he didn't expect the backlash. I thought he thought that people would be more in on the joke, or this could be a big work for WrestleMania too. We don't know.
Eric, any thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I think he's working us. He's working people. That's his thing. He may or may not actually mean what he says, but UFC to a point. You got to remember, all their theatrics, all their entrances, all that shit. That's all borrowed from wrestling. Let's be honest here. Mm-hmm. People can shit on wrestling all they want, but even boxing to an extent also does that too. They borrow. Everything's borrowed from wrestling. I get a little pissed off when I hear about that, and look, good for people that wrestlers that are standing up for their sport or whatever you want to call it. I understand how they're upset. Look, they put their bodies on the line. Okay, it's not competition necessarily, but that doesn't mean that it's not physical, that they're not athletes. They put their bodies on the line all the time. They do get injured. They're away from their families. They sacrifice themselves for entertainment. And that is one of the reasons why I always have and always will love professional wrestling. You know.
This is my issue I have with USC and USC fans. When people come up to me like, "Oh, why are you gonna waste your time watching the fake shit?" and they and like stuff like McGregor saying that guys in the roster are pussies. So I guess Darren Drozoff is a pussy for the fact that he's fucking paralyzed because he did this for professional wrestling for a living. Yeah, that guy's a real pussy. Yeah, that stuff just really irks me off. And everyone wants to critique wrestling still because of all the dead wrestlers at a young age. But why don't USC get the same scrutiny with their drug testing? Every other time there's a big pay-per-view coming up, either the fight's called off because somebody got caught using steroids or something, not naming only Brock Lesnar. John Jones has been through this thing for almost 3 years now. The guy the guy's fight as much as Derrick Rose has played basketball in the last 3 years. I don't get it, man. I don't get the appeal of USC anymore. I don't like their fans, their media. People could go kiss my ass. I'm done with it.
Yeah, and then one more thing I wanted to bring up,
Of mixed martial
like
arts.
the whole fake bullshit argument about wrestling, which is tired at this point. Tell that to Perro Aguayo Jr., who died in the ring last year, and the people that and then the people that are fucking trying to blame Rey Mysterio for that, and when it's it's real when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
Let's
move on to something more positive here. The
Power
Cruiserweight Classic. The Cruiserweight Classic has been something that's been completely off the chart since it started a few weeks ago. I talked about this on the Pipe Bomb last week on the Matt's show on the New Age Insiders. It's awesome. If you guys haven't had a chance to see it, please go check it out. I've done a lot of research for this tournament with movesets and all that because obviously I'm doing the articles for WrestleZone, and it's awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, it goes by fast. It's not even a full hour sometimes. It just goes by like 50 minutes. The matches are awesome. They give it time. Eric will get his thoughts on it because he's watched it a lot like I have, but this already awesome standout performances from Cedric Alexander, who's even had better performances on this show than Ring of Honor. Kota Ibushi is still the man. We could go all day about this. Adam, have you seen any of the Cruiserweight Classic? And if so, what's your thoughts on it so far?
I did get to see an episode. It was with German Michael Jackson, and I just like to refer to him as German Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to catch more. It's not because I didn't like it. It's just because of I've been working 3 jobs and doing media, like more media than any of you want me to. So it's like I've just really haven't had any time to catch anything but Raw and SmackDown. But I do want to see more. That's one thing that I want to keep up on because I love that fast-paced, quick. I know some people aren't a fan of it, but I love that the fast-paced, hard-hitting, flying around action. I like.
Eric, go ahead, my man.
Yeah. Oh, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, that last episode you had Ciampa versus Gargano was awesome. Guys that I never heard of before this, like Jack Gallagher, really impressed me. Like they need to put him with the vaudevillains like ASAP. He's that mustache, man. But he was so entertaining, and all like Grand Metalik and guys like Kota Ibushi, and I'm very happy for guys like Cedric Alexander to make their mark on that stage, and very happy to see Tajiri and the Brian Kendrick in the ring. I loved that, and then that's one, and we'll get into this later, but I had mentioned off air the term people are misunderstanding the term vanilla midget, that Kevin Nash, I think, put out years ago.
Yeah.
They're misunderstanding it because someone like the Brian Kendrick is charismatic as hell. He's not vanilla at all, People
Exactly.
aren't understanding the term.
Well, I think, you know what, Eric, we're just real quick, if I could put a comedic spin on this, I think people understood the term. I think Nash was just, it came off as him being such a prick when he said it. I think that's the catch. So we're always going to use it now.
Right, but see, that was good though, because that was also a work. He did that with this whole thing in TNA, like him versus the X Division. But it built personalities for all the X Division people afterwards.
Yep. I'll never forget the first time Jay did the Macho Man impression, because they had Kevin Nash do like American Idol thing. I forgot what it was called, the Paparazzi something bullshit or whatever.
Paparazzi Productions, I think.
Yes. There you go.
Alex Shelley was involved.
With the camera, and it brought the machine guns together, and
Austin Aries was in it, but he was called Austin Starr.
Yeah, that was terrible. And Sanjay became the guru, and all these people developed these personalities that they probably had all along, but they weren't able to convey.
To add on to that, Eric, I want to say this. There's a lot of times over years where you hear a lot of buzz, certain independent wrestlers, and everybody says, "Oh, they're the greatest things that sliced bread," and you got other former wrestlers or whatever say, "Oh, all these guys do are spot monkeys and somersault planchas and no selling and all that jazz." I'd never seen a Zack Sabre Jr. match beforehand, or Drew Gulak or any guys like that, but with covering those matches, I realized those guys are massive submission artists. Those guys are awesome mat-based wrestlers, and you can't always believe the common perception of what particular independent wrestlers are. And honestly, to be honest with you, I don't feel like there's been a lot of spot monkey guys on this Cruiserweight Classic. Yeah, maybe once a show you'll see somebody do a springboard moonsault or anything, but I don't see a bunch of suicide dives every single match.
There's been some Dean Malenko type guys, yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Something else that I do like about the Cruiserweight Classic, too, is this is really going to shine a light on other promotions around the world. For example, I think that Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., I believe, are going to go in Progress pretty soon. Yes. I could be wrong, but I think it's Progress. Shout out to everyone at Progress, because I'm so glad that they're finally getting all the recognition that they've sorely deserved. They've been such a good organization for so many years, and they're finally getting some attention paid to them. So, but yeah, make sure and this is what I like about the Cruiserweight Classic. It's really, again, what do we always say? There's never been a better time to be a wrestling fan, right? And this is another part where WWE is giving back to, as much as we want to say it's sports entertainment and people want to kind of shoot arrows at WWE, Triple H and a lot of his ideas are really giving back to all organizations, and I kind of want to applaud them for that.
And from what I see from the vignettes and stuff, I really do feel like some way, somehow, no matter if it's the Final Four or whoever goes after the second round, a lot of those guys are going to be signed or will be part of Raw whenever the Cruiserweights come up on Raw. So I'm looking forward to it, man. You got some great matchups. Like tonight, you got Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander. That's going to be a lot of fun. Grand Metalik, he's one of the popular guys from CMLL. He's taking on Tajiri tonight, so that's going to be pretty good as well. So they said the tournament should end the week after Backlash, so things will start picking up here, so it's going to be pretty interesting.
Oh, you mentioned CMLL. Adam, you're going to appreciate this. I have the 1991 set of CMLL cards, wrestling cards, and Chris Jericho is on it as Corazon de Leon.
Yes.
I have that.
Oh, that's so great. Yesterday was his debut anniversary, so that was a great topical reference, Eric. Thank you.
Yes. Before we go into Raw, let's talk a little bit about Suicide Squad. I got to see the movie last week. Adam said he's seen it twice. Eric's watched it as well. I'm just gonna say this. I just thought the movie was badass. I enjoyed it. I know some people's complaint on social media. What else is new? Is the fact that they made Harley Quinn look too sexual or whatever. Obviously, you do enough research on what the Harley Quinn character actually is, and I think Margot Robbie played it to the T. And Oh, everybody wants to compare the time limits of Heath Ledger and Jared Leto as a Joker. That's another meaningless thing to bitch about. I just thought the movie was badass. I really do. I thought it was badass.
Josh, okay, so real quick, because I did some research just because I just like to shut people up sometimes about trivial arguments. Listen, everyone's complaining about Jared Leto's screen time. I've seen it twice. It was just under 15 minutes. Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, it was over 2.5 hours long. He was only in it for 19.5 minutes. Now, which is amazing when you think about that. Heath Ledger stole an entire trilogy of movies in 20 minutes of screen time. Like, that is a performance, ladies and gentlemen. But he was also the main villain. Jared Leto wasn't even supposed to be in this movie. Joker is not a part of the Suicide Squad. This was absolutely, for me, this was for Harley Quinn and Joker fans and Deadshot fans. This is so people got to see the Deadshot backstory. It really humanized them. This was so people could see the twisted love affair that is Harley Quinn and Joker. And guys, here's what I think a lot of people are missing. Joker, for all intents and purposes, was a hero in this movie. He was going after for the stigma with Joker, which it is. It's a very toxic relationship between the two of them, but they both understand that. But in this, Joker was trying to rescue Harley the entire time when he realized he couldn't live without her. When she got arrested and he was kind of laying in that bed of knives.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was paying homage to New 52 when he cut his face off too. How he drew the thing around his mouth. And had all the knives around him, so I think there was some homage being paid there. I saw it twice. I loved it. I liked it a lot better the second time too. I just think people didn't realize that this isn't a Batman movie. This isn't anything like what you. I don't know what people thought this was going to be, and I think that people thought it was going to be your typical comic book movie, but these are new universes. You know, this isn't. I look back now at the Batman that I grew up on, and we took our daughter, and our daughter loved it, and how we did it. I told them I wanted to tell you guys how I did it. We told her we had to go to the mall, and we were doing all this stuff. So basically, we just rolled into the movie theater and surprised her and said, "Oh, we're going to see Suicide Squad," and put a little Harley Quinn T-shirt on her, and she was losing it, smiling ear to ear, and just laughed the whole time. And guys, it was a fun movie for anyone. And listen, the whole Harley Quinn, the over-sexualization of Harley Quinn, you don't know the Harley Quinn character then, because she's bisexual, she's always wearing skimpy outfits, and this was more for the younger comic book fans. This is New 52. This is next gen. I mean, I just got done reading Batman R.I.P. and Joker's tongue he slices his tongue in two, so it looks like a snake tongue. Okay, I mean, these are all. Joker has no, just like Undertaker. Joker has no one look, and I hate to keep beating this to a dead horse, but you don't sit here. Everybody seems to love Biker Taker, but that's not the Undertaker, guys. I'm sorry. And as much as I love. Listen, I love Heath Ledger's Joker because Heath Ledger's Joker is tattooed on my body because I'm starting to get a Joker whole theme going. But this was what Jared Leto's performance was the closest to what was done in the animated series and for most of the comic books. Not the old campy Jack Nicholson, not the overly sadistic. It was kind of like somewhat in the middle. So get over it, guys. If you didn't like it, watch it a second time because you know what you're getting into. You'll probably like it a little bit more because you're not going to overanalyze it. Yeah. But really, at the end of the day, this was for New 52 fans more than anybody else.
I wanted to say this really quick. I don't know if you guys pay attention to this or not, but like I don't know, but for me, I really felt like the music that played in the background behind the scenes really helped the movie a lot in a lot of ways.
Soundtrack for that movie.
It was awesome, and I thought it was kind of cool that the actual that Ben Affleck actually came in as the Batman in this movie. I thought it was pretty cool. I know a lot of people are ripping on Batman for Superman. Sorry, Ronnie. I'm sorry to disagree with you, good brother, but I thought Ben Affleck kicked ass in Batman vs Superman, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was awesome to me. And yes, it may be for a lot of New 52 fans, but it's also, there were nods to the old stuff. There were nods to the animated series when you saw like Harley Quinn getting her that outfit and the Jester outfit. It was like, and the way she hugged it, so there were nods to it and all that stuff. I thought it was great. There were a lot of characters that I wasn't familiar with that now I am. I'm like Deadshot was great, and there was not I wouldn't even call anybody a main character in it necessarily. You know, a lot. I mean, okay, you saw maybe more Harley Quinn and more Deadshot, but there was backstories for everybody. For the most part, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I can't wait for another one.
The guy who played the sergeant was way better than what he was in RoboCop.
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah, Rick Flag. Yeah, Rick Flag was good. I like Flag. And listen, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is not. That's something that we can all debate who the best Joker was, for what reason. But again, there's in the comics there's no one Joker. So it's. But Harley Quinn, I don't think anybody could have played better. I mean, she was spot on.
They casted it perfectly.
Oh, I mean, the mannerisms. I mean, every little nuance, the looks that she gave, the mannerisms, even when she talked, the voice inflection for certain things. Like, I love when she had the flashback and she went, "He does marry me," or something like that. It was just like the funniest thing.
That's something that I was a little worried about before I saw the movie. I was wondering if she was going to get the voice down, but she did. It wasn't all the way throughout, and that's okay, but it was there. The Mr. J, it was there a little bit,
One last thing before we move on to Raw. Suicide Squad is awesome. Obviously, we are having glowing praise for it, but I'm looking forward to see what's next. Like, what's the next big comic book superhero type of movie? I haven't been paying attention on the new releases or anything like that, but. For you guys, do you know what's next on the horizon?
Wonder Woman, I saw previews for, trailers for next year or whatever.
So speaking of women, they're casting perfect roles. Holy shit!
Yeah. Well, they're doing what? Wonder Woman. It looks like they're going to do Justice League. I don't know what's coming out of the Marvel side pretty soon. All I know is for me, I had a list of comic book movies, so Suicide Squad's done, and you guys are gonna laugh when I say this, but the next one turned out not to be a movie, but they're actually making it just a quick little episodic series. It'll be Mallrats 2. That'll be my next big comic book, and I know it's not a comic book, guys, but damn it, in my world, that's comics to me.
Brother Nero, you're the man because you brought us to a great transition point. We're going to go from Mallrats to Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens because we're going to start talking about Raw right now. All right. Raw this past week was at the home of WrestleMania 12 and 2000, the Anaheim Pond. Everybody was talking about how long WrestleMania was this year. Hell, WrestleMania 2000 was all day long. You guys remember that? They had like the pre-game show 9 o'clock in the morning and shit. So the show starts off with Enzo and Cass in the ring. They get interrupted by Jericho and Owens. This leads to a match between Jericho and Enzo. Match ends in disqualification in a way where it's kind of weird because Jericho won this match via disqualification because Big Cass came into the ring and attacked Jericho because he was pissed with what was going on with Kevin Owens at ringside. I like the interaction with both of these guys. I see a lot of chemistry as a tag team if they ever considered doing this for real with Jericho and Owens. I really think there's some money in there, but I know there's a lot of people that are dying for Kevin Owens to be in the main event scene, so that's a double-edged sword there. But this eventually leads to announcing the fact that Enzo and Cass are taking on Jericho and Owens at SummerSlam. I love it. I think it's cool. This SummerSlam card is already packed as it is, so even have something like this, yeah, you consider it filler or whatever you want, but I think this is going to be awesome, and all 4 guys are going to kick ass in Brooklyn. Let's start off with Eric here. What was your thoughts on the beginning of Raw?
Well, that's Raw in itself was okay to me. Not the greatest, not the worst either. Mm-hmm. A great way to start it, though. I mean, Enzo has charisma up the ass. I mean, it's amazing. I like that they brought up some continuity with his last week's stuff with Sasha.
Yes.
She was smitten. And that the
smitten enough to get
the
married.
dynamic that those two had together. But yeah, the Enzo and Jericho have a great chemistry, and Jericho and Owens together, and the whole dynamic, and Owens trying to dig, between Enzo and Cass, saying like you're holding him back, like Sami Zayn held me back, and
Yeah.
referencing that stuff. And I'm excited for this match. I mean, this is a big deal for Enzo and Cass for their first SummerSlam. I think it's a great match.
Adam, what's your thoughts, bud?
I love it because I think that this is a great way. Okay, so I'm looking at it two ways. One, we have the potential of another great kind of like when Edge and Jericho should have had that run as a tag team. Then we had that unfortunate injury to Edge. But this could be, if they wanted to, they could run as a tag team for a little while. Then the imminent split happens. Whenever Jericho decides to take some time off. Or go back to doing Fozzy and stuff, On the flip side of it, though, what I think is the more realistic of this is that this is really going to start to show Enzo and Cass in a tag team capacity, and it's putting them against, though, look what they're doing, two very smart singles competitors, because, guys, I do think that sooner rather than later, and maybe as early as WrestleMania, right after WrestleMania, I can see Enzo and Cass splitting and going into singles competition. So they're training with two of the best in the world, one being the greatest of all time. I'm going to pull that card because I will be the homer on that one. But I think it's smart, man. I think it's smart, and I think that, eventually we will see Owens turn on Jericho. And it probably happens right after SummerSlam. But I think this is really good for all four guys. I think it's great exposure. And like you said, the chemistry, like you guys, Eric said, the chemistry between these guys is completely insane and off the charts. So
this is something that I wanted to point out here. I think it's cool that Enzo is starting off the show and Cass and all that. I think that's cool. You're not having Stephanie come out with another soliloquy or having Rollins come out with a promo. I mean, yeah, okay, we get it. I know people want to shoot arrows at the new era because everybody's still salty about what happened a couple years ago. They can't move on, blah, 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 blah. But I know there's a perception out there. Everybody thinks that Enzo's going to be just treated like a jabroni whenever they split. But when you get the opening segment of 2 consecutive Raws, I think that's saying something, and I think Enzo is getting as much spotlight as Cass. I get it. I know where everybody's going, guys. I get it. Oh, okay, because Cass is 7 foot tall. That means Cass is going to get all the pushes, and Enzo's going to be treated like Adam Rose or somebody. I just don't see it that way.
Speaking of the opposite of the vanilla midget, Enzo.
Exactly.
He's got his mic skills alone will keep him fine. He'll be fine.
And you know what? I think what I think is a maybe a good point to bring up, and something that could be a great debate point would be. It seems to me, as much as there's always this kickback of what WWE would want in a superstar, and they don't really have small guys, like you guys said. Old logic, Enzo gets lost in the shuffle, and that's not a slight on Enzo because I love Enzo, but old style thinking, again, a dude my size isn't going to get over in WWE, but. When do we have to say, with the whole believability of card, like when people were talking about Balor and stuff, do we want to keep this believability thing going? Because, again, I would say that the times when wrestling got pulled out of slumps, it was really when cruiserweights were focused upon because it added a new element. It was when guys like, it wasn't the prototype model, and I don't mean model like Zoolander, but I mean model like, the prototype model of professional wrestler that they look for. I think that there's something to we don't want this to feel real, guys. We watch wrestling we watch it because we love the soap opera, we love the drama, we love everything, we love the underdog stories. I think that when it gets very stale, like in the late aughts when it was just Orton versus Cena all the time, because there was no focus on smaller guys. There was no. I'm not saying it has to be a major focus, but there's a market for it, and I think wrestling's better when there's a cruiserweight division, when there's smaller talent, because it challenges other people to elevate their game too. Look what happened with John Cena whenever they started bringing in guys from Ring of Honor. Elevated his game. He realized that not only he always knew he had to expand his moveset from the 5 moves of Doom, but now it was absolutely evident that he had to. I mean, it was a must. So I think anytime there's something there that can challenge other talent, I think it's always a good thing.
Let's move on here. Like Eric said, I didn't think Raw was horrible or anything. I thought it was decent. I didn't think it was great either. But we talk about this a lot in the podcast, Adam. A lot of times in between these builds towards pay-per-view, you just have a lot of plot points. You may not get like the most exciting like build through every week, but you need those plot points to have the stories move on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think this was another case of it too. But I did like it. I don't know, Eric. What do you think, man?
Well, as you could see from my lower third here, one of my favorite segments of the night was Anderson and Gallows. They're very underrated on the mic as far as their charisma is really starting to show. And first of all, the thing was hysterical, and I also liked at the beginning their nod to Spies Like Us with the whole doctor thing. I got that immediately, and then the whole. And I'll be honest. Look, I'm 36 years old. I'm an adult male. I still think jokes about testicles are funny. Okay, the whole thing was kind of like it was very shtick. It was very like Naked Gun or even Mel Brooks kind of humor, but it worked, and it built up the story. And I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that if they do end up taking the tag belts, there's a very good chance that we could see Balor win the Universal title and they, form.
I think that
Or they could swerve us and have Rollins be the leader. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, no matter which way they go, Eric, I wanted to piggyback off something. I think, and I've been singing his praises for a while now, but I think this is really, I hope people are starting to jump on Carl Anderson's bandwagon. Everyone was familiar with Gallows because, let's face it, guys, IWC, we know Festus, then we know Straight Edge Society, but, I don't know if anybody really followed his work over when he went to Japan. I did. I was a Gallows fan. I think that Gallows, though, already had
an aces and eights too. I hate to bring that up.
Yeah, well, yeah. I skip over TNA stuff a lot. I know I should. I'm sorry, Mr. Gallows.
That's where they got the Doc name from.
Exactly. I know. I forget about TNA. I'm sorry, Mr. Gallows. Don't hate me.
Don't blame me.
Yeah. Listen, I don't care if Ryback hates me, but please, look, Gallows, I love you. No. So no. It's one of those where I think people were going to know him. People needed to know Anderson a little bit more. And Anderson is super charismatic. And I love his hot Asian wife thing. The whole thing with that. It's so good that I had to use some gimmick infringement. And I keep using hot psycho wife when I talk about Sam. But it's one of those. I hope people are starting to pay attention because I think Anderson and Gallows, and especially with the segment that they had on SmackDown with all the tag teams, it's really showing that there's going to be a new focus on tag teams. Because as much as we love New Day, it is a novelty act that took off, that just blew up. They're not a tag team, guys. It's a novelty stable that blew up. But that's when I think tag team, I don't think New Day.
Yeah, and Anderson and Gallows, I'm glad that they're not just the generic, everything's a shoe, I have a mean look in my face. They've shown they do have a personality, and at the same time, they can still be the badass and bring everybody to ring their crotch into ring posts and all that stuff. Like, I'm really looking forward to this match with New Day and Anderson and Gallows at SummerSlam, and we'll make our predictions next week. But I'm interested in this tag team program. We'll get into SmackDown really quick because I think Adam made a great point about the tag team segment as well. Moving on here, the wedding thing with Lana and Rusev, I thought it went a little bit long, but I did enjoy Roman Reigns in this segment. He had me rolling during this segment. I feel like he's coming into his own on the mic and have more composure. I didn't think it was the obvious thing where Roman's going to throw a cake at Lana or anything stupid like that, but it is official. Roman's fighting Rusev at SummerSlam for the U.S. title. Let's start off with Adam here. What was your thoughts on that segment?
All right, so here's what I want to say. I think the one thing like on the serious note, I think that one thing we've always said was less is more with Roman Reigns, and this was the perfect example. Less was more. I think Roman looks a little bit more relaxed right now too, because in a way he knows he's kind of got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like the fans have been already against him. You know, they're not really in cities to give a good litmus test yet on whether or not, you know, and it's against Rusev. It's almost like the Sheamus effect. He's going to get those boos regardless, or I mean he's going to get the cheers regardless. You know, just because Rusev's such a great heel. on the flip side of it, guys, if you thought that there was any way that like Roman Reigns was going to put his hands on Lana, especially after being suspended for a wellness violation, you guys are out of your minds. Like an oversensitive 2016, that is character assassination for Roman Reigns. I mean, we're trying to bring him back into the fold, not completely ostracize him. You know what I mean? That would have been the most terrible decision ever. I don't know. I kind of dug it. I'll admit I did think it ran a little long. I kind of lost interest in it. As much as I love Lana and Rusev and the whole, I love Rusev on social media so much. I seriously can't talk about it enough how much I love him on there. But I just thought it did run a little bit long. But the positives, Roman definitely looked a lot more comfortable, and that's good. I think this is the good thing about taking him out of the spotlight for a while and just kind of let him be him, short, sweet, to the point. He's money.
Eric?
I think that if you didn't think that the cake was going to be on someone, then you haven't been watching wrestling very long.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the cake, the moment I saw the cake, I'm like, that's something's happening. And I love the fact that the cake was red because Lana at the end of it looked like a scene out of Carrie.
Oh God.
Yes. Oh. And
that's something I noticed.
And I want to thank Roman Reigns because now that I've seen Suicide Squad twice, guys, make sure you stay through the credits or at least halfway through the credits. But it's really cool. He's going to be Aquaman too in Justice League, so that's cool.
Oh man.
Jason Momoa's doppelganger.
Yes, exactly. Moving on here. Just a couple other stuff from Raw. I really enjoyed the Cesaro Sheamus match. That was really good. Very physical match, and they're following up what they're going with that storyline. Here's the thing, though. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but I knew that Sheamus cost Cesaro in the main event of Raw with Rusev, and he still got the scene with Roman Reigns. Is there any way this match turns into a four-way?
There's time. I mean, there's still another week.
I don't know why not. What, you're going to have Sheamus Cesaro on the pre-show?
Yeah. It's because in a weird way I see Cesaro as Daniel Bryan 2012 and 2013 and 2014 and every single year that they wanted to put the fan favorite against Sheamus for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they want Cesaro versus Sheamus just because.
Like for me, I have no problem with just Roman versus Rusev. I think that's gonna be a good match.
I think it would be better that way, to be honest.
You do, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Because I, in a very strange way, think that Rusev's going to go over Roman Reigns.
I do too, actually. I agree with you on that one, actually. Eric, let me ask you about this one. We had the video packages with Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, kind of like the Brock Lesnar John Cena one, where they're building and then Brock is cursing in his vignette and stuff. What was your thoughts on that? Did it get you any interest into the thing? They had a little bit more of their backstory, and I thought it was funny. Like Paul Heyman's like, yeah, they trained in OVW. Then Brock's like, I still don't give a fuck about Randy Orton.
I like that. I'm glad that they referenced 2002, the class of 2002 OVW, which was fantastic. They brought up the fact that Cena, Batista, Shelton Benjamin, even, and then him and Orton and Brock. I think that was great. That was. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm interested in it. It's not. I know, Adam, you had mentioned on a couple of different shows that you're on because you're on a lot.
Yeah, too many.
You're a Renaissance man. There's you said something about shit. I don't remember what it was now. I lost my train of thought. Something about the whole dream match thing.
Yeah, not a dream match.
Right. Dream match, not a dream match, whatever. Maybe that's
how it gets overused, but it's very subjective to the viewer what a dream match is.
Yeah, but I'm excited because it hasn't been in a major program yet, and maybe it's because of the reasons that you had mentioned. Possibly, you don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll say that then. No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, my whole point, I guess, just real quick, yeah, I think that like listen, I know that it's never been on pay-per-view in 15 years, but guys, let's be honest with ourselves. It's because all these guys have either been chasing other dreams, suspended, or just had a really bad attitude and didn't want to put the other one over. That's all.
Yeah.
That's why it hasn't happened. It's because they were knuckleheaded business when they were younger. I was a very knuckleheaded dude when I was younger too. So listen, I'm not throwing stones. It's just one of those where this is just finally where they were able to agree to do business, and the timing was right. But let's not pretend like this was some missed opportunity where they were in two separate organizations like a Cena and Styles that we never thought we'd see. I think, but I do see the dream match. Eric, that's what I was talking about. So that's where I was like, I absolutely see where it would be a dream match for a lot of people. So yeah, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the whole thing with this match during the early years, Orton was still building himself up. I mean, Brock was built up like immediately. Okay, Juggernaut, getting the title at SummerSlam and mowing through the competition. Mm-hmm. But Orton was a more slower build, so Orton wasn't on that major star level yet to even have that as a big match.
Yeah. Well, there was
ample time. Yeah, and that too. But there was, and then I know, yeah, and then after that, after 2004, Brock left for the foreseeable future until 2012, and Brock was, busy with, other things, and I guess maybe they could have done Brock versus Orton then too, and that's okay that they waited. It's still going to be a good match, and I'm glad that it's happening.
Here's something that caught my eye during the vignette. When Orton was talking about how Brock left, and he's like, yeah, Brock left because he doesn't like people. He's like, well, big effing deal. I don't like people, and I've still been wrestling here for like 12 years. I thought that was a good
people
line.
People suck in general.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
that is true.
You know what? I'll admit, part of me though, and listen, and I totally agree with Eric. There is a big market for this match, and just because I'm on the fence of well, I just to me it isn't. I'll admit the reason why it's not. It's just because I am. A lot of the people that were really criticizing the AJ Styles Cena match for like us fans saying that it was a dream match, those same people are the ones that like criticize Finn Balor or criticize Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or like, and I'm tired of like all of the new age in the new era guys and guys that have been traveling the world and all these other organizations that are us as fans that we're so enthralled in. I'm tired. It's like Seth Rollins, like Bret Hart always shooting arrows at Seth Rollins. I'm tired of like this generation getting beat up on just because the business is absolutely different. So I guess in a weird way, it's just my way of just protesting this match. Just say, you know what? Fuck all you establishment assholes. I don't care. This is totally the wrong attitude to take, guys. It is. It's totally the wrong attitude. But to me, this is the corporate shill match of, okay, let's make money because these are just two names. There's really no even story. Let's make one up real quick. Hey, class of 2002. Hey, they've never fought on a pay-per-view before. Hey, when really neither, I don't think, even have the passion for the business that any of us have. So I don't know.
You hit up a great point there. I want to bring it up when we talk about the Ambrose Stone Cold podcast later on. Here's my thing. Like, everybody's throwing arrows, but at the end of the day, I know that Russo said one time he didn't want to be like Jim Cornette was during the Attitude Era because he is like, oh, Russo's killing the business with all the Attitude Era stuff. But now Russo's turning more like Cornette, complaining about how wrestling's not the way it used to be or all that. At the end of the day, nothing's supposed to be the way it is anymore. That's why nobody cares about baseball anymore. Baseball has not evolved. Baseball has become one of the most least popular sports today, and it's supposed to be America's pastime. I understand what you're coming from, Adam. For me, I think people need to get off their high horse and try to adapt to different things.
And please understand, guys, like, and for some reason, poor Vince is like the one that gets like the most arrows shot at him. It's not just Vince Russo, guys. There's a lot of people out there that, and a lot of voice boxes out there that are like that are constantly shooting like some of these newer superstars down, that are pushing crazy merch, that are pushing gates, that are pushing, and so don't think it's but Josh, exactly to your point, it's not just Vince Russo, guys. Like, don't, please. He's probably the one of the smaller of the people that are critical.
Yeah. What's interesting about
Meaning less critical, not I love Vince, so please don't, everyone should not take that the wrong way.
What's the interesting part about this conversation is that, yeah, Orton and Brock may be the corporate shill match, but with this SummerSlam and this build to the show, I know this is an opportunity where once one match can top another. Just because Finn Balor is fighting Seth Rollins doesn't mean that Ambrose and Ziggler can have a better match than them. Just because Brock Lesnar is fighting Randy Orton doesn't mean the other dream match could kick ass and AJ Styles. Think about that. We got 4 different matches in 2 different scenarios where some people are interested in Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, and everybody else is interested in John Cena versus AJ Styles. Some people are interested in Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose more than they are Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. That's the great thing about the SummerSlam card. When have you had that in WrestleManias or SummerSlams over the last couple of years? That's how deft and talented this roster is right now.
It is. Let me ask you guys something. Let's play Keep It 100 real quick, because this has been done on Larry Wilmore and Countdown Recount way before Conan had a podcast. So but let's keep it 100 real quick. Just realistically though, is Brock Lesnar's heart in this anymore? And that's where I'm at, because are we going to see anything more than 10 or 15 minutes out of this? Of like, it's not going to be. I'm sorry, as great as Randy Orton is, and I want to please emphasize that, as great as Randy Orton is, if you're in there with a guy that's saying, I'm Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar does. If Brock Lesnar shows up and Brock Lesnar says that Brock Lesnar's only going to wrestle 5 to 7 minutes, Brock Lesnar's only going to wrestle 5 to 7 minutes, because that's what Brock Lesnar said that Brock Lesnar's going to do. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't see it being more than, and I hate it because that should be an excellent match. I think maybe I'm over the whole Brock Lesnar pay him for 15 minutes and get him out of here kind of deal. I'm tired of it. I guess that's my hang up, guys. I don't mean to be negative about this match, because it really should scream like 5-star match. It's just, if this was 2 years ago, I could see Lesnar putting his heart into it. I don't think Lesnar's heart's into it right now. I think he knows he's getting the paycheck. He don't care about us as fans. He don't care about being a performer. He cares about Brock Lesnar. End of story. And that's okay. At the end of the day, it's what life is about. But we have to kind of see it for what it is, guys.
I kind of deal with kind of like a Brock Lesnar scenario here in Chicago, where people hate Jay Cutler. Everybody just rips into the guy because he doesn't show passion and all that. He's getting the money. He's got the hot wife in Kristen Cavallari. He has all this stuff. He has no any emotional being in his body. So I get that standpoint. Let's go off Raw with this. Our thoughts on Raw with this. I thought Rollins had a badass promo in the ring this past Monday night. Once again, he showed why he's the man, and I loved it. And I thought the Balor thing was cool too, showing his backstory and why they call him Balor and Finn and all that. Guys, what was your thoughts on the Balor Rollins stuff this week?
I loved it. That was, yeah, Rollins killed it as always, but Balor, like, people talk about how Balor doesn't have great mic skills or this or charisma, this or that. The way that video was shot, where he's sitting down on that chair,
yeah,
and it's almost like it's his transition from regular Balor to Demon Balor,
Mm-hmm.
And the way he's explaining in the videos and shit. That was badass, I thought, and I think it was a great way to continue the build up for it. I think it was great.
Adam?
Man, we know Rollins is great. Let's face it. His promo was everything. It built the match. It put butts in seats. It explained what was going to happen. It was topical with the Suicide Squad Joker reference. You know what I mean? It's everything that a promo should be. You know, like go back to Heyman and Austin on the Austin podcast, and you know what? You have a mission when you cut a promo. He did absolutely that. He explained who he was going up against, why he was there. He put butts in seats. He sold the network. He kept it topical. He kept people engaged. Boom. I mean, it was again Seth Rollins being the man. I was blown away by Finn Balor's promo. I was, and because as much as a Balor mark as I am, I will admit the one criticism I do have of Finn Balor is that his mic work can improve. But in a way, you know, I was thinking about it this week. He kind of gives a lot of his promos are a lot more Sports Center-esque. You know, they're dry, but they're almost like he is that athlete. You know, even when they first signed him and they brought him in and they were interviewing him at NXT and stuff, it was that quick Sports Center. Yeah, listen, I'm just really happy. I'm here to help out, make a name. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as over the top campy like and the longer this goes on, guys, I don't know. I really think that Finn Balor's. I think that Rollins is the easy answer just because, but I'm getting a Chris Jericho Undisputed Championship kind of scenario, you know, a flashback here where I really think that, like, out of nowhere, we're going to have Finn Balor as the first ever Universal Champion.
I'm not going to disagree with that or say that's a bad thing because at the same time people say, oh, if you just give it back to Rollins, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be the same old like it was before the draft happened. So
they're in a weird catch-22 with this,
yeah.
I think.
It is, yeah, you're right. We're going to – it doesn't really matter. People are going to complain no matter what scenario.
Yeah, at one moment it's a win-win because you like both guys. At the same time, for other people, it's a lose-lose. So, hey, polarizing championship matches. Kind of the same thing with Ambrose and Ziggler in a way. Some people don't feel like Dean Ambrose is worthy or a champion type of guy, and some people feel like Dolph Ziggler is on his last legs. So it's interesting. This could be a great conversation for next week because that's going to be probably one of the toughest ones to predict out of the whole card. Let's go to SmackDown, and I was talking about this with Eric before we came on. What I loved the most about last night was the emphasis on the women and character development on all the women on the show. I thought every woman that was on the show last night got a step up. I know everybody's jizzing over the Raw women because Sasha Banks is there and Charlotte and Paige and all that. But I loved what I saw from the women last night. Eva Marie had me crying, laughing again last night with the redo voiceover. Now she's ready to compete. Let's start off with Adam here. What was your thoughts on the women's stuff last night?
I just want to say that I can't wait for Eva Marie to debut next week and then debut at SummerSlam.
Yes.
And then, no, because SummerSlam will be the big debut. But listen, something has to happen next week, which I think she goes out to the ring first and gets attacked from behind by Becky Lynch. That sets up the match So Becky Lynch is really the one that caused her not to debut. See, so then now that'll infuriate the fans even more, but it's really Becky that did it. And then when you have her debut at SummerSlam, make it so over the top that for as much as my wife was like vomiting in her mouth last night, I want it to be tenfold. I want it to be like that GIF where it's like the guy, and it's like there's like the vomit that's just like pouring out of his mouth.
Yeah.
I want it to somewhat look like that because they're getting great heat with Eva right now.
Mm-hmm. Eric, your thoughts?
I brought this up to Josh. I think that the Eva Marie entrance is like the Sharknado of entrances, where it's deliberately campy and over the top, and it's supposed to annoy you. And
yes.
Look, at the end of the day, I still don't think that she has a passion for the business, and I really don't like her. But on the other side, character-wise, I still think she has zero charisma as far as like her speaking ability. Yeah. But her presence, though, she has a presence, and people can call. I don't know how to explain it, but like they need to milk that whole thing with her not debuting. I figured as soon as she did it the first time, I'm like, okay, they're going to do this at least a few times, at least until SummerSlam, and I think that's brilliant because it's gonna. bring more out of the haters. You know, a couple
Yeah.
of haters.
We
a couple of haters.
talked about this on the Pipe Bomb last week. The company is embracing the fact that the fans feel that Eva Marie is the drizzling shits. So the more cheap heat or trolling heat, whatever you want to call this, what they're doing with her, the better. They found a way to not make it like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't care about this anymore.
I love the voiceover guy so much. I can't. And the fact that it keeps getting better, I love this voiceover. The whole concept of it is so great.
And
you know,
go ahead, Eric.
You know what I think? There's SummerSlam. You really think about it. There's a big emphasis on New Era.
Yes.
For SummerSlam, and you haven't really seen that since, I don't know. I'd go back to WrestleMania 21, where it was basically the coming out party for Cena and Batista, where they both won their titles that night.
Yeah, you don't need The Undertaker on this show. You don't need Triple H to wrestle on this show. This SummerSlam is, I think, a proving ground for a lot of these young guys to show that they could be the main draws for WrestleMania in the coming years. That you don't need to bring in a Rock for a 30-minute talking segment. You don't need The Undertaker again. I love Undertaker. Everybody knows me. Besides CM Punk, Undertaker is my favorite wrestler of all time. But still, like you said, Eric, you could have said it better. The emphasis on the New Era guys, getting an opportunity to show that they are draws.
Look who's getting a shot at the IC title, Apollo Crews. I mean,
yep.
Apollo Crews is one of those guys, like, he's not in the ring. He's definitely not green at all. He's been wrestling for quite a while.
Yeah.
On the mic, maybe, and I'm one of those people that thought that he should have stayed in NXT a little longer just to develop more of a character instead of the happy to be here guy. Yeah. You know, this always smiling guy. And I love Apollo Crews. I think he's amazing in the ring. But I kind of figured that he was going to be the one to get the shot because they probably weren't going to do heel versus heel. And Kalisto already had his moment with Del Rio a few months and Rusev a few months ago. So I figured Crews was going to get the shot. And but it works. I think it's going to be, again, like I said, it's an emphasis on New Era stuff.
You know, I thought it was funny last night, like where Miz and Maurice were on the Talkie Smet table, and they had like a Hollywood version of Edge and Lee just making out, like totally blowing off Renee Young. Yeah, we're just gonna make out. We're not gonna answer your questions. I thought that was funny. Other stuff from SmackDown that stood out to me, like Adam, you brought up earlier the whole tag team thing. Hey, everybody talks about how American Alpha is the greatest thing. It's sliced bread. You got all these tag teams come out there, and they still clear the ring too. So I thought that was pretty cool. Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio had a really good match last night. Del Rio's not affected by a clean loss, which I enjoy because I think Del Rio does have some value left in him before he decides to leave the company. So I don't mind that. Like, I would have been not annoyed, but like, you don't need Randy Orton out there to drop Heath Slater. Like, Heath Slater, what they did with Heath Slater was perfectly fine. But having Randy Orton fight like a guy like Alberto Del Rio, I thought that helped Randy in a way.
Oh man, I haven't enjoyed Heath Slater this much since before the formation of 3MB when he was doing like all the thing with all the legends.
Yeah.
This is and this was especially funny because Shane and Daniel Bryan were about to actually offer him the contract for SmackDown, and then his interaction with someone like Rhino, who I would love if they kind of incorporated some kind of political thing into Rhino's thing, because he won his thing in Michigan primary, and that would be hysterical if they kind of like had this Republican Rhino kind of thing.
Didn't you hear him say that he didn't want to let his constituents down? That was funny.
A word in which Slater could not
Slater has
not say himself.
Now.
I meant 4 kids.
Yeah.
I meant 4 kids, not 2 kids.
No, I meant 7. I have 7 kids. Hey, did you guys? One thing I'll say though is I was a little disappointed in the tag team spot. I was disappointed that we got the hype bros, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm just not a bro kind of guy, and it's an annoying gimmick to me. But on the flip side of the bro gimmick, did you guys notice we had no Breezango out there?
No, I
Oh,
did know
notably
that.
missing.
I did know that.
I didn't even. Yeah.
I did notice because they are the greatest tag team in the tag team division. I would like to point out Breezango. But so now, guys, let me just real quick, Eric and Josh, both. Do you guys think that there is some legitimacy then to maybe a repackaging of Tyler Breeze?
If they're doing a repackage on Tyler Breeze, then Johnny Curtis should come back as well. Johnny, if you guys never seen Johnny Curtis from the original NXT, go check it out, folks. Because if you're gonna do repackage of Tyler Breeze and Fandango, you have to do it because both guys would stand out a lot.
I loved the Johnny Curtis character, like the all those puns that he had. I thought were hysterical. Like, I too have a chip on my shoulder, or something like that.
I just put myself in a corner. That was one. That was definitely one on SmackDown.
Oh, man.
Right. But he had a paintbrush, so he said he painted himself into a corner. It was so funny.
What was I going to say? I thought the camera work was really good in the talking segment with Ambrose, Ziggler, and Wyatt. Just how they had that sequence where, Wyatt had Ambrose in position for the sister Abigail, and then Ziggler kicked Ambrose. I liked what I saw with the Wyatts and Ambrose and Ziggler. Yeah, obviously I knew the tag team match was going to happen one way or another because we talked about this last week, Adam. Bray Wyatt's still the wild card in this scenario. I think after SummerSlam, Bray will be in the title picture. Hey, Ambrose kind of pulled at Austin last night where he's like, hey, you super kicked me, I'm going to drop you after the match like nothing. Don't trust Ambrose. DTA. Always remember that, folks. DTA. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I was going to say this might be a good way to transition into the Ambrose Austin podcast thing.
Yes.
If we're talking about Ambrose, and then it also has to do with going back to the Brock Randy Orton thing as far as like if Brock's really in it. Dean Ambrose kind of hinted somewhat at that, like, you know, at their WrestleMania match, you know, made some comments where, I mean, I'll be honest, that match should have been a little more hard hitting and you know, should have been a little more than it actually was. It was fine, but it wasn't. I was expecting a lot more from that match. It was a little disappointing, and I think Dean kind of brought that up. And what did you think about like his interaction with Austin on the podcast in general?
I want to say this really quick, and this is everybody knows, everybody loves Steve Austin. I get that. Steve is not my favorite wrestler of all time, but I have a hell of a lot of respect for the guy, and I am a fan of his. I really am. But I agree with what Daniel Bryan said on Talking Smack last night. I didn't think Austin needed to go after Ambrose that much about how his personality is laissez-faire, or he doesn't show the same amount of intensity that Austin does during a promo segment or interview scenario. I get it. Some people are good at it, some people are not. But I agree with Brian. I thought Austin was going too hard at him at certain moments, and I think it is an insult to say that Ambrose is resting on his laurels, because when everybody was injured before WrestleMania, the guy was busting his ass at every house show, being the main event of those house shows, splitting it with Roman Reigns. So to say that he's resting on his laurels, I thought that was BS. But to your Brock Lesnar point, Eric, I agree. And it sucked. I was really looking forward to that Brock Lesnar Dean Ambrose match, and I really felt it brought the show down too, because hey, this is reality. Brock Lesnar is about Brock Lesnar. If you don't do things by his terms, he's just gonna say "F you," and I'm still gonna take your money during the process. So I see what you're coming from.
You know what? I didn't see it yet, but It's weird, like, listening to you guys talk about it and, like, some things that I've seen on, like, Twitter and this and that and the other thing, and everybody's saying, it was kind of like, it wasn't as good. If you really wanted to hear a better podcast, go to, listen to Ambrose on Talk is Jericho and this and that and the other thing. You know what, guys? and now especially because Daniel Bryan made a point to talk about it on Talking Smack. If that's what it's called, Talking Smack, like Talking Dead. You mean like how I've always said that it'd be a great thing for WWE to do is like have a post show that talks about the show. If it works for that, it would work for everything. Look at this. Go figure. But I think that, guys, how do we know that the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast that is now going to be on the WWE Network, how do we know that there isn't a layer of kayfabe in there so that there are starting plot points for other storylines and or character changes in these? So, yeah, maybe it seemed like Austin was going at him hard, but maybe that was all a part of the plan. Maybe this was a reason for there was a way so that otherwise I wouldn't see that. I don't see the benefit of Daniel Bryan kind of taking other than like, yeah, check it out, like him saying, well, he was kind of going hard. I don't know. To me, it seems like there might be some storytelling going on.
Eric?
Yeah, could be. I think there was the part where Austin was saying to Dean about, I want you to, do me a favor. I want you to, be more this or that. And I'm like, and then Dean's answer was kind of like understandable. It's still somewhat the PG era, and like there's only so much you can say, and to raise the the envelope a little bit, with all these sponsors and USA breathing down their necks, to keep Raw 3 hours and the money and this and that. So I understand why Dean can't always, he can raise it as much as he possibly can. And I brought this up off air. The Attitude Era was something that not something that Vince necessarily wanted to do, but it's what Vince had to do to survive and ultimately win the war.
And I don't want it to go back to that. Listen, like the whole, it was funny, the whole Eva, like, like wardrobe malfunction, blah, blah, blah. It was funny. I don't want it to go back to where we have bra and panties matches. I don't want it to go back to where it's like nudity for no reason, or where we're using, like, listen, I catch enough flack for doing a comedy show where we talk about wrestling, where we in a moment of passion use expletives, so I don't, but at the same time I'm not geared towards like a TV PG thing, or even we don't need it to stretch out to language so that they can say shit and goddamn and all this stuff we don't need that. Like, I always say that in the Attitude Era my daughter would not have watched. Period. I mean, she wouldn't. So we wouldn't have these, these where we know Monday nights we watch Raw. It's like Mean Girls. Monday nights we watch Raw. On Mondays we watch Raw. No, but we wouldn't have these once soon to be twice a month pages. It is. It's so fetch. But but during the Attitude Era, my daughter would not be watching. Whereas right now she looks at women like Sasha Banks, AJ Brooks, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Becky Lynch. The list goes on and on. She looks at these women as idols and as heroes. So I do not want it to go. They can stretch the TV PG line enough for us where we will understand it's different than the movies, guys. That's the one thing we have to understand. TV PG does include PG-13, so a lot of times what you can get away with, there's a little bit more, you can get away with more on TV. Just leave it at that. We've seen that with Enzo recently, so can we just kind of keep it as is, guys? Come on.
I want to say this, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but everybody just seems like whether it's some of the former wrestlers or the people that throw arrows all the time at the new generation, it's like either it's Attitude Era or bust. You know what I mean? Because I get it. Everybody talks about how Attitude Era is the most profit and all that. But even though WWE's second quarter just outdid Attitude Era in money times twice, the WWE right now in the PG era is making more money than it did in the Attitude Era. Yeah, they're not getting the ratings that they did back in the day. And I'm not saying everything today is perfect or it's the greatest era of wrestling or anything. But hell, I'm enjoying wrestling as much now as I did when I was 5 years old. So I just don't see the logic of everything has to be the Attitude Era or bust. And the question here I have for you guys, do people believe that only TV 14 style presentation of wrestling is the only way wrestling works?
I believe, unfortunately, yes, because it's a mindset of I'm an adult, I want this. I look at what at least TNA shows. Their women barely wear anything. At least TNA has more blood. At least this. I mean, a lot of times that's what you'll hear out of people that are like anti-WWE. But that's not. I don't know. This is one still that this is another thing that baffles me because there's so many ways that they could still be edgy and still be. They've been TV PG, and we saw CM Punk dump ashes all over himself, and it was supposed to be Paul Bearer. If that wasn't one of the most like difficult things to watch, like fresh off Paul Bearer passing away, and especially for his family, like take that into consideration. And this is TV PG, so. Come on, guys. That's not that PvPG isn't the answer. And I would actually make a debate real quick before I kick it over to Eric that, you know what, Josh? I would say maybe I could make an argument just because I can make arguments for all sides, but I can make an argument that this is the greatest time ever for professional wrestling. If your company is making more money now than you ever have, it's hard to debate money. It's hard to debate money. It's also hard to debate crossover appeal. We've never seen this much crossover appeal from not only WWE entertainers, but independent wrestlers as well.
Correct.
And we've never seen this much exposure in the independent circuit. So I could make a debate that this is the greatest time. Just because it passed certain people by, these were the same people that were getting praised in the 90s for revolutionizing a dying wrestling, a dying art. They pumped life back into it, and now it's taking a new generation to pump life back into it, and there's just, I think, a lot of creative envy.
Eric?
Yeah, I think that in-ring, it's definitely much better than Attitude Era right now. In-ring. The Attitude Era, look, I love that too. And I was at the perfect age for it because I was a teenager when that happened. So I got to be, and I went throughout high school wearing my Austin 316 shirt or my NWO shirt or whatever, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was, but it's like, how do I explain it? It's not the wrestling emphasis on wrestling right now, and it seems to be coming back a little bit, which I love. But wrestling and entertainment-wise, every era has its place. I loved the Hulkamania era too. Like I grew up on that, and I wouldn't say that's better or the Attitude Era is better or this is better. It's all subjective too, But every era has its ups and downs. But people are being, and I could be one of them at times, but people are being a little too negative, more than they need to be. I could be cynical and rip apart every movie I see, like with logic, but then I would never enjoy anything.
Yeah.
That's why I appreciate and this is why I appreciate this show versus other shows, because at least when we're being negative, we admit that we're being negative for just selfish reasons, and there's no real merit behind it. It's just like, all right, like for me with like Lesnar and Orton, listen, it's just selfish reasons, and it's just stuff that for me I need to get past, But at least I'm honest about it, and like Eric, like absolutely, it's a good time. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it's a good time in ring to watch it, and they're doing a lot of good things. A lot of new era stuff is being emphasized, and I'm excited. It's not going to be all roses, and that's okay. There's going to be some shit too, and that's fine. But everyone has their opinions on what's good, what's not. And look, I'm guilty of that too, and I admit it. I'm guilty of like rewriting shit all the time. I rebook like everything, but I try not to rebook it from my perspective. I try to rebook it from just a logistic perspective. And I brought this up last time I was on, the whole Luger-Yokozuna match at SummerSlam 93. And I bring this up because I've been trying to binge watch all the SummerSlams leading up to this one, and I just, after 96, I was like, I gave up. I can't do this. It's too much. It's too much to watch. Plus season 4 of Wentworth came back on Netflix. I got to watch that. That's like an Australian, more darker version of Orange is the New Black, which is a great show. But anyway, back to my point. Even at 13 years old, I'm watching that match, and the ending is Luger wins by countout. And I'm not necessarily angry that he didn't win the title, but I'm angry at the fact that, and again, even I emphasize this, even at 13, I'm angry with the fact that he's celebrating and everybody else is coming out as if he did win the title. Like, what the fuck are you celebrating about? You beat him by countout. Whoop-de-doo. It's logical. It's illogical to me. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. I'm also the type of kid that I understood sarcasm at a very, very early age.
Yes.
And I loved the heels back in the 80s or in ever. You know, I always loved the heels. And
Is it because you grew up with Mel Brooks like me?
Yeah. And I was smart enough to know that the Rougeaus, when they came out with their little tiny American flags, that was meant to mock the U.S., and that I thought was hysterical. I mean, and I even did this. I think I came upon it. I didn't look it up specifically, but if you read the lyrics of the Rougeaus theme song that are being sung in French, and you look it up, there's a lot of America bashing in it, which is hysterical in English. And they're talking about Barry Manilow and shit like that. I mean, I love the Fabulous Rougeau Brothers, but all the heels. I loved the $1 Million Man. I loved Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, those type of heels, and I always have.
You know, I want to bring this point. We'll move on from this. But
I don't know how I got onto that, by the way. I'm just.
It's all good, brother. It's all good.
Because it's a great point to bring up.
Yeah. You know, in the 90s, you had other stuff that you could look forward to and interested in besides wrestling. Like you had, that was a great time for music. That was when hip hop was actually worth listening to. The alternative scene was phenomenal. The Nirvana, Offsprings. I could go on and on with a bunch of great bands. Oasis, Tool. We could go all day with just the great bands there in the 90s. Comedy was a great thing. Stand-up comedy was a great thing people looked forward to. The Kings of Comedy. You had sports were even fun. I don't think the late 90s was a good era for the NFL, but that was like the whole steroid era thing with baseball. That was when baseball was less interesting. Like my point is, like, you had that other stuff to look forward to outside of wrestling during the 90s, but today you don't. Like, today you have, everybody has their head up their ass. We got Nimrods running for president. We got a horrible election race coming up. The music today is horrible, with the exception of a couple of bands. And it's like everything else is, besides the movies and stuff, it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got The Walking Dead. You got Breaking Bad. You got some TV shows that are hits and some that are misses. But besides that, what else about today's society that's fun? That's why I'm enjoying today's wrestling, because it gets my mind off of the retarded shit that we have to deal with every single day.
You know what? I think that's part of the problem too. Is I think all of us have I think we have way too many options because, you know, listen, we love wrestling, so it's great for us to submerge ourselves in wrestling. But because there's like 800 channels of like nothingness now. Like there's every subculture always has something. Which, listen, for like us, it's great because our wrestling subculture is the more exposure it gets, the better. But on the other side of that coin, then we have to have like Alaskan mountain people and them weird dudes, the Duck Dynasty dudes, and like, you know, so like idiots like them get a shows, or like Gypsy Sisters, which I do watch.
Stuff on the History Channel that has nothing to do with history.
At all. No, the History Channel, and listen, the History Channel, I don't even ever want to put on because it just seems like for some reason it's like celebrating Hitler, and I don't like that too much. There's way too much Hitler. There's way too much Hitler. No, there is.
There's more Hitler Week on that channel than there is Shark Week on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, oh, God, that's terrible.
It's scary. Like, come on, guys. We don't need to know that much about him. Let's kind of, we don't need to celebrate this man. Jesus.
On the plus side, at least that's actual history, though.
Yes. Guys, let me ask you this before we almost head to the end of the show. We talked about Raw and SmackDown. It's week 3 of the brand extension wars. Who gets the vote this week? Which show you thought was better than the other? Let's start off with Eric.
I don't know. I would say about equal this week.
You got equal?
Yeah.
Adam?
Ooh, I'm gonna say that this week's winner was Suicide Squad, so I'm just gonna go with that. I think that
Raw, undisputed winner right there.
I'm saying that Raw, all you haters can suck it. Raw and SmackDown were both quality shows this week, but Suicide Squad was the standout. Holla!
if you hear me.
I like that answer.
I'll just say the loser of this week will be the Olympics. That's it.
Oh, jeez. That ain't wrestling. This is wrestling. Ah.
Yeah. Let's talk about SummerSlam really quick. We have 9 matches already confirmed for this show already. We got, obviously, Sasha and Charlotte. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if there's one match in the show that I'm not looking forward to. We brought up earlier, we got Balor and Rollins for the vacant. Hey, WWE Vacant is we have the first. If you really think about it, WWE Vacant is the first ever WWE Universal Champion. So let's make that clear.
That guy's going places, man.
I love you, Vacant, so much. Standing over Vacant.
So we got that for the Vacant Universal Championship. Ziggler and Ambrose for the world title. We have Apollo Crews against The Miz, Roman Reigns versus Rusev, Owens, Jericho against Enzo and Cass. There's a lot of title matches on this show. Holy shit. John Cena versus AJ Styles, and of course we got Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. We're going to make our predictions next week, boys, but where's your excitement level for SummerSlam next Sunday?
I'm excited. I think it's going to be, and I know I've mentioned this many times, but it's very new era emphasized, and I'm happy with that. And I think it's a very unpredictable SummerSlam, and I've started to like that. Like we've got a thing on our show where we're trying to do we're doing our predictions, and we're going to do it for a year's time, like from Mania to Mania, and then after that, the winner is going to get like an awesome prize, and the loser is going to get a replica of the Divas Championship.
Oh, it's like the Sacco.
Yeah, and
yes.
So we're doing that, but I'm like, and even on the times that I don't get a lot right, I'm almost glad that I don't get a lot right. Who wants to be able to predict the whole thing all the time?
Exactly.
That's boring.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, you talk about this a lot, and I agree with you. I'd rather be wrong than right a lot of times when we predict matches and stuff. Unlike all these other shows you listen to where the horse is like, yeah, we've got our sources. We know what's right with booking, and we know this and that. Go get the fuck over yourself, bro. Seriously. Like, we're chatting, and hell, you could be listening to us right now, and you're like, these guys don't know what the F we're talking about. Hey, but that's the fun of it. I'm not going to say I know what's right or wrong in this scenario. I have my opinions. Adam has his opinions. Eric has his opinions, but it's all subjective. Hey, just because I don't lose sleep over 50-50 booking doesn't mean I know more about wrestling than you.
Yeah, I've never understood the like beating your chest that like I have sources. That's cool. So when you're still wrong, how does that make you look? Because it just means your source worked you. That's all. I don't know. I like being in the dark with stuff, Josh. That's why I brought that. I keep bringing it up like a lot of the times because listen, we all do these prediction shows. We all think that they're going to go in a certain direction, and they've really done a good job. And it hasn't been just since WrestleMania. It's been since before Mania. They've done a really good job of keeping us guessing. And when you're watching a movie that never ends, this is a comic book that never ends. It's the never-ending story. I want to go down the roads less traveled, or I want to revisit certain roads that have been rebuilt, so to speak. Stuff that has it's something old that feels new again. I want a mixture of both, and I think that we're in a really good place right now where they're giving us a lot of that. So that's why I'm never really like when I am critical, it's usually to make some jokes or talk about Baron Corbin's stomach looking like Ditto, the Pokemon character, or there's other stuff like that. But it's right now wrestling is there. I think that wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, there is something for everybody. It's just that there's certain, just like when you watch football or baseball or basketball or whatever, there's there's a generational switch right now, and that's with every business, every company, every form of athletics, everything. There's just a generational divide. It's about to flip. It happens every 20-some years or so. That is very cyclical, my friends, and this is just growing pains that we're going through right now. That's all.
one last thing before we head out here. I want to send our condolences to the family of John Saunders from ESPN. He passed away this morning at the age of 61. The popular sports broadcaster. They had the old show, The Sports Reporters. I know Saunders did a lot of work for college football and stuff over the years, and he'll be missed. I remember watching him as a kid. You had Stuart Scott passing away last year. Just a lot of unfortunate things with a lot of great celebrities and broadcasters passing away this past year. Also, I forgot to mention this, by the way. I found it funny that Diddy was eating Bootios. So is the Bad Boy Reunion Tour sponsored by Bootios?
It's the reunion tour nobody asked for.
Oh, God. Oh.
When you lead with $MA$E as like, yo, we got Mace back. I already went. No, I'm done.
I'll say this: I was at WrestleMania 29. All right, and when Diddy came out to perform, I went to the bathroom. Okay. So the opposite of P. Diddy was, did he pee? Yes, he did, and that was Eric.
Well played. Well played. Thank you.
Nice.
I'm sorry. Like, I'd never been like, and I wasn't even really a Biggie guy. I was more of a Tupac guy. You know, as far as the West Coast, I'm not trying to be like a West Coast, East Coast kind of thing, but like P. Diddy's shtick, like, come on, he was riding the coattails of Biggie, and Mace was just ridiculous. And, you know, just the whole... the only thing that was worse was Master P and his shit.
Oh, God.
Ja Rule. We got to put Ja Rule in there. Ja Rule was bad. Ja Rule
was horrible.
Ja Rule was bad.
Terrible.
That's all he can say.
I want to real quick about Diddy too. Whenever he said something about, hey, where's Biggie's nuts at? When they went, no, you can't say that on TV. Was that? Do you guys think that was legit? Where they were like, no, Diddy, you can't. That cross the line, or was that like kind of like played in there? Because it was a weird, awkward moment for a second. I was like, oh shit, fourth wall.
Either Kevin Dunn said something to Mick Foley like, don't say that.
I think Kevin. I'm not going to say what I was about to say.
I'm going to need you to go to Brooklyn and get me some real Cambodian breast milk.
Exactly. That's the joke I made the other day, man. That's why Diddy's going to be there. He's going to send Heath Slater. He's going to send Heath Slater out to do all his chores like he did on Making the Band. He's going to go send him to get breast milk from a Cambodian immigrant. He's going to send him to go get a picture with a midget holding these balloons. He's going to make him go get him a piece of chocolate cake. I'm telling you, Heath Slater's going to be
someone named Dylon.
Adam, I'll say this, buddy, and I think you'll agree with me. The only way Diddy has kept his relevance is because of the Chappelle Show.
But yeah, you know what? As far as like pop culture, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if Diddy's name even sells anymore. But you know what? I heard he is a big WWE fan. So if that, or at least I read that. I don't want to say I heard that. I sound like Donald Trump. I'm hearing things. We all hear. So Randy Orton hears things too, according to a song. Yeah. But
hey, are we gonna get another flow right at WrestleMania performance since WrestleMania's in Orlando next year?
Of course.
Oh God. Oh lordy. On that note, Eric, thanks for coming on again, bud. We're always glad to have you on the show. But let everybody know where they can find you on social media, and direct everybody out to Tag Me a Date.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me at Eric M. Friedman, at Eric M. Friedman on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well. TagMeADate.com. We're all over social media. We do the War Report, our podcast with Vince Berry, who is the speaker, the announcer for Northeast Wrestling, one of the great independent promotions right now. The War Report is on every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And we're all over the place. I wanted to mention this real quick. I went to a show. A friend of ours, Charlie Armstrong, who runs Gimmick Tree Entertainment and Modern Vintage Wrestling. That's the new big promotions going on out there at Ziggy's by the Sea in Wilmington. I I ran into old friends like Rock and Roll Express. Speaking of the club, I met Amber again, Amber Gallows, the Bullet Babe herself, and she she was nice enough to take a selfie with me, and that was awesome. I met ECW legend New Jack, and that was pretty cool. And the icing on the cake for me was Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons is one of the nicest, classiest guys that I've ever met. And I've had and since Tag Me Day came along, Steve's brainchild, and I got to put over at Steve Glenwick at Red Baron 316. This is Tag Me a Date. The reason why we created Tag Me a Date was because we're big wrestling fans, and we want to have a platform for young, single female and male people to meet each other, talk about their love for wrestling, and this has enabled me to travel the country a little bit and meet all these wrestlers, whether it's promoting our site or just me going as a fan. Either way, it's a lot of fun. I'm building up my autograph wall, and I'm getting to take all these pictures. I've met more wrestlers in a 2-year period than I had in my whole life combined. And I feel very, lucky to have that in my life. So, and love professional wrestling, always have, always will, and that's where I'll leave it at that.
TagMeADate.com. Get on it, folks. Get on it. TagMeADate.com. Mr. Daley, where can people find you, my good friend?
You guys can find me drinking Crystal Pepsi at Adam Daley 13.
Nice.
I gotta get some of that.
I wanted to do a quick plug. You guys were talking about some charity podcasts. SummerSlam weekend, I'm gonna have all the information for you guys. It's gonna start on the 19th. I am teaming up with Wrestle Addict, and there's a bunch of us there's I think about 10, 11 shows that are doing it. We're doing a podcasting marathon, and it's gonna it's for charity. All the proceeds are gonna go to Right Love on Her Arm. And it's basically focusing on, guys, it is going to be a SummerSlam themed show, but our main focus is going to be talking about ending the stigma and raising awareness for depression, for anxiety, for bipolar, for just all these things that are given a very bad erroneous and very ignorant stigma, just because people don't understand, and or it's easier for jackasses and bullies to throw stones at people that are debilitated by certain ailments. So it's going to be very personal. It's something that I'm very proud of. It's going to be a very, very exclusive episode of Wrestling With. It's going to be just Sam, myself, and I'm bringing a special guest on, and we're going to tell kind of like a very telling life story about some things. And again, guys, the whole thing is to raise money for a wonderful, wonderful foundation, a nonprofit organization in Florida called To Right Love in Our Arms. Please check that out. Check out their website. Check out the Wrestling Addict. And like I said, shout out to Rant with Ant from the New Age Insiders Network, because he's the one that really got me on this. This is something I wanted to do for WrestleMania 32. Sam and I didn't get a chance to go down to, and this is exactly what I wanted to do it for, was to raise awareness to end the stigma of all mental illness and mental wellness. Just the bullshit stigmas that's attached to it. So it's going to get very personal, but it's going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. We're taping it this weekend, and we'll have all the info for you guys. So check me out on the Twitter.
Adam Daley 13. Also check out Adam on the Pipe Bomb with McCool and Company as well.
Yes.
That show is a lot of fun. I was on last week with Adam and Matt, and we got a lot of great feedback from that show last week. So that was a blast. Check it out.
I loved it. I enjoyed it.
It's on the New Age Insiders Network if you guys don't know where to find it. Sure, it's out there at iTunes, Podmac, wherever you get your podcast from. For me, you can find me at WC Josh Lopez. I like to talk about music, comedy. I host my sports show, The Sports Drive, on the Radio Sports Network. If you want to check that out, that's a little bit more expletive show where I just cut loose in the morning in a non-PC barbershop style sports talk show. So check that out. And I'm covering the Cruiserweight Classic tonight. So if you guys want to check it out, WWE Network, WrestleZone.com, and I'm back on TNA 3D tomorrow night. So, hey, I get my little dose of Broken Matt Hardy. At least I get that. Broken Matt Hardy for president, period.
I would vote. I would vote for him.
For this show,
Vanguard 1 for vice president.
oh God, Senior Benjamin, Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of getting the battlefield ready for deletion. Delete. Damn it! I love you, Broken Matt Hardy. Oh.
For this show, you can find it Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast on iTunes. Subscribe, leave a review, rating. There will be an audio version of the show after I've done editing and all that fun jazz. But thank you, Eric, for coming on again, buddy. We'll hopefully get you back on sometime soon. Adam, thanks for coming on as always, brother.
Josh, thank you. You know that.
I'm Josh Lopez. This has been episode 16 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back to preview SummerSlam next Wednesday. Adios, humps. Peace.